Back to National Report. President Trump signing an executive order last month to dismantle the Department of Education, directing Education Secretary Linda McMahon to send the focus of education back to the states.
But only Congress has the complete authority to eliminate in totality the department. South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds has reintroduced his bill to eliminate the Department of Education and move all critical federal programs to other departments. Senator Rounds is here with us now. He sits on the Armed Services Committee and the Select Committee on Intelligence. Senator, thank you for coming on. You reportedly say your legislation it's not going to cut education funding that we've seen. Some funds would flow to states as grants, while other programs would be funded through federal agencies. Can you talk about this legislation and maybe why you think it's important, much like President Trump, to dismantle the Department of Education entirely?
Yeah, look, first of all, thanks for the opportunity. The department was created in 1979. We've seen no increase in student improvements anyplace. In fact, in some cases, it's actually gone down over the years. And I attribute a lot of that to a one-size-fits-all mentality at the department level. In the meantime, there are a number of programs that were in place beforehand, Congress had authorized, that we want to maintain. Some of those programs include IDEA, special education, impact aid, and so forth. Those programs that have been specifically laid out by Congress, including student loans and so forth, we put back into the agencies that originally were there. The funding goes with them. The entire office comes out of the Department of Education and moves directly back in to one of the others. In some cases, the Department of the Treasury, as an example, Department of the Interior. But our purpose there is to make sure that those programs that were critical, that people support, would be maintained along with their funding. The remaining portion of the funding would go back out to schools in terms of block grants on a state-by-state basis for distribution by the states. Right now, that amounts to about $16,000 per student that comes out of the federal government back across the states for funding today. We want the states and local units of government to have more of a say in terms of how their kids are taught.
Yeah, they work with them more closely. And since the department's creation, tuition's gone up exponentially and test scores have fallen. So the Trump administration is trying something else, and now we're seeing Congress take action. However, this is met with pushback by Democratic lawmakers. They've been highly critical of changes to the department. Here's just some of those comments. Let's watch.
I don't understand, if our collective job is to put America first, why we would gut and demolish the Department of Education.
These folks don't want to be involved in politics. They want to teach kids. They chose this profession because it's what they love. And now they've been thrown into the middle of this absolutely ridiculous fight.
Title I funding to help low-income schools, gone. Special education funding, gone. This isn't about reform. It's about destruction.
Who's going to be the victim? Americans' kids, America's school children. To get tax breaks for his billionaire friends and hurt our school children? I don't think that's what America wants. I don't think that's what America bought into.
A lot of hypothetical situations there, Senator, but just if you could respond to some of those comments.
Yeah, just a huge amount of misinformation. And in fact, clearly none of them have made contact with us. None of them have actually looked what's in the bill. My goal is to preserve those programs. Special education is critical. Impact aid is critical. In fact, we went through the entire department. It took us almost 2 years, office by office, to find out which ones had been authorized by Congress and which ones should be held entirely separate, put into separate agencies with all of their funding intact. We haven't cut a single dollar from going back into those programs, nor have we cut a single dollar from going back into the states. But we want the states to have more authority over those other programs in which right now the Department of Education has requirements that they attach to these funding plans. One size does not fit all. Every single state in the union should have the ability to try their best to teach their kids. A good example, phonics. Why is it that right now so many of the kids right now don't even have access to phonics? And yet at the same time, we know that when kids do get phonics, it's the one thing that they all seem to be able to read better when they use. And yet that's not one of those cases. It's a case of where one size fits all. And these folks that are demagoguing what we're talking about here, they have not recognized the fact that we're really trying to get back so many of the decisions back to local units of government. Along with that, some people have said, well, what about student loans? We haven't changed student loans. Even though it is a miserable failure under the Department of Education, we've kept it intact and moved it back over to Treasury, where it used to actually work before the Department of Education got involved in it and screwed it all up. We do think that we're going to have to make some major reforms if we wanted to continue on. We think we've got to go back to what actually was working before Obama actually gutted the program, brought it back into the Department of Education, and made a mess out of the student loan program. We can do better for our kids, but a lot of it requires that we get states and local units of government back involved in education, let teachers teach, let local decision makers have more of a say in it, but get the block grants going back out. And oh, by the way, there's $2.2 billion in federal red tape money that is freed up that could go back into actually funding additional funds for special education or returned to the taxpayer. And not a single penny is cut going back into special ed, impact aid, or any of the rest of those programs. And at the same time, local units of government actually have more of a say in how to educate our kids.
Absolutely, yeah. Just got to get those on the left that may disagree to at least come to the table to hear it out and hash it out. And that'll be, obviously, that'll be a tough one there. But Senator Mike Rounds is doing so, making that attempt. Senator, good to see you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.